The queen walked quickly through. The children had to trot to keep up with her, but she showed no sign of fear. Diggory thought, she's wonderfully brave and strong. Hi, kitty. She's what I call a queen. I do hope she's going to tell us the story of this place. She did tell them certain things as they went along. That is the door to the dungeon, she would say. That is the passage that leads to the principal torture chambers. Or that is the old banqueting hall, where my great-grandfather bade 700 nobles to a feast and killed them all before they had drunk their fill. They had rebellious thoughts. They came at last to a hall larger and loftier than any yet they had seen. From its size and from the great doors at the far end, Diggory thought that now at last must be coming to the main entrance. In this he was quite right. The doors were black and were dead black, either ebony or some black metal which is not found in our world. They were fastened with great bars. Most of them were too high to reach and all too heavy to lift. He wondered how they would get out. The queen let go of his hand and raised her arm. She drew herself up to the full height, stood rigid. Then she said something which they couldn't understand, but it sounded horrid, and made an action as if she were throwing something toward the doors. And those high and heavy doors trembled for a second. That's the image they show. Trembled for a second, as if they were made of silk, then crumbled away till there was nothing left of them but a heap of dust on the threshold. "Whew!" whistled Diggory. "Has your master magician, your uncle, power like mine?" asked the queen, firmly seizing Diggory's hand yet again. "But I shall know later. In the meantime, remember what you have seen. This is what happens to things and to people who stand in my way." Much more light than they had yet seen in that country was pouring in through now empty doorway, and when the queen led them out through it, they were not surprised to find themselves in open air. The wind that blew in their faces was cold yet somehow stale. They were looking from a high terrace, and there was a great landscape spread out below them. Low down and near the horizon hung a great red sun, far bigger than our sun. Diggory felt at once that it was as also older than ours, a sun near the end of its life, weary and looking down upon the world. To the left of the sun and higher up there was a single star, big and bright. Those were not the only two things to be seen in the dark sky. They made a dismal group, and on earth, in every direction, as far as the eye could reach, there spread a vast city, which there was no living thing to be seen. And all the temples and towers, palaces, pyramids, and bridges cast long, disastrous-looking shadows. In the light of the withered sun. Once a great river had flowed through the city, but the water had long since vanished, and it was now only a wide ditch of gray dust. "Look well on which no eyes will ever see again," said the queen. Such was Charn, that great city, the city of kings, the wonder of the world, perhaps all of the world. "Does your uncle rule any city as great as this boy?" "No," said Diggory. He was going to explain that Uncle Andrew didn't rule any cities, but the queen went on. "It is silent now. But I have stood here when the whole air was full of noises of Charn. The trampling of feet, the creaking of wheels, the cracking of the whips and the groans of the slaves, the thunder of the chariots, and the sacrificial drums beating in the temples. I have stood here, but that was near the end. When the roar of the battle went up from every street, and the river of Charn ran red." She paused and added, "All in one moment, the woman blotted it out forever." "Who?" said Diggory in a faint voice, but he had already guessed the answer. "I," said the queen. "I, Jadis, the last queen, but the queen of the world." The two children stood silent, shivering in the cold wind. "It was my sister's fault," said the queen. "She drove me to it. May the curse of all the powers rest upon her forever. At any moment, I was ready to make peace. Yes, and to spare her life too, if only she would yield me the throne. But she said she would not. Her pride has destroyed the whole world. Even after the war had begun, there was a solemn promise that neither side would use magic. But when she broke her promise, when she broke her word, what could I do? Fool! As if she did not know I had more magic than she. She even knew that I had the secret of the deplorable world. Did she think she was always a weakling? That I would not use it?" "What was it?" said Diggory. "That was the secret of secrets," said the Queen Jadis. "It had long been known to the great kings of our race that there was a world of which, if spoken with proper ceremonies, would destroy all living things, except the one who spoke it. But the ancient kings were too weak and soft-hearted, and bound themselves and all who should come after them with great oaths, never even to seek the knowledge of that world, that word, but I learned it in a secret place and paid a terrible price to learn it. I did not use it until she forced me to do it. I fought to overcome her in every other means. I poured out the blood of my armies like water." "Beast," muttered Polly. "The last great battle," said the queen, raged on for 3 days here in Charn itself. For 3 days I looked down upon it from this very spot. I did not use my power till the very last soldiers had fallen, and the cursed woman, my sister, at the head of her rebels, was halfway up those great stairs that led to the front of the city from the terrace. Then I waited till we were so close that we could see one another's faces. She flashed her horrible, wicked eyes upon me and said, "Victory." "Yes," said I, "victory, but not yours." Then I spoke the deplorable word. A moment later, I was the only living thing beneath the sun. But the people, gasped Diggory. What people, boy? Asked the Queen. All the ordinary people, said Polly, who'd never done you any harm. And the women and the children. And the animals. Don't you understand? Said the Queen, still speaking to Diggory. I was the Queen. They were all my people. What else were they there for but to do my will? It was rather hard luck on them, all the same, said he. I had forgotten that you are only common boy. How should you understand the reasons of state? You must learn, child, that what would be wrong for you or any of the common people is not wrong for a great queen such as I. The weight of the world is not on your shoulders. We must be freed from all rules. Ours is a high and lonely destiny. Diggory suddenly remembered that Uncle Andrew had used the exact same words, but they sounded far much grander when Queen Jadis said them, perhaps because Uncle Andrew was not even 7 feet tall, and dazzlingly beautiful. And what did you learn? Said Diggory. I had already cast strong spells on the hall where the images of my ancestors sit, and the force of those spells was that I should sleep among them like an image of myself, and need neither food nor fire, though it were 1,000 years till one came and struck the bell and awoke me. What was it, the deplorable word that made the sun like that? Asked Diggory. Like what? Said Jadis. So big, so red, so cold. It was always been so, said Jadis, at least for hundreds of thousands of years. Have you a different sun of your world? Yes, it's smaller and yellower, and it gives a good deal more heat. The Queen gave a long drawn ah. And Diggory saw on her face that same hungry and greedy look which he had seen lately on Uncle Andrew's. So, she said, yours is a younger world. She paused for a moment to look once more at the deserted city, and if she was sorry for all the evil she had done there, she certainly did not show it. And then she said, now let us be going. It is cold here, and at the end of the ages. Going where? Asked both children. Where? Repeated Jadis in surprise. To your world, of course. Polly and Diggory looked at each other aghast. Polly had disliked the Queen from the first, and even Diggory, now that he had heard the story, felt that he had seen quite as much of as he wanted of her. Certainly, she was not at all the sort of person one would like to take home, and if they did like, they didn't know how they could. What they wanted was to get away themselves. But Polly couldn't get her ring, and of course Diggory couldn't go without her. Diggory got very red in the face and stammered, Oh, our world. I didn't know you wanted to go there. What else were you sent here for, if not to fetch me? Said Jadis. I'm sure you wouldn't like our world at all, said Diggory. It's not her sort of place, is it, Polly? It's very dull, not worth seeing, really. It will soon be worth seeing when I rule it, answered the queen. Oh, but you can't, said Diggory. It's not like that. They wouldn't let you, you know. The queen gave a contemptuous smile. Many great kings, she said, thought they could stand against the house of Charn, but they all fell. Their very names are forgotten. Dang it. Foolish boy. Do you think I, with my beauty and my magic, will not have your whole world at my feet before a year has passed? Perhaps prepare your incantations and take me there at once. This is perfectly frightful, said Diggory to Polly. Perhaps you fear for this uncle of yours, said Jadis. But if he honors me dully, D-U-L-Y, he shall keep his life and his throne. I am not coming to fight against him. He must be a very great magician if he has found how to send you here. Is he king of your whole world or only part? He isn't a king anywhere, said Diggory. You are lying, said the queen. Does not magic always go with royal blood? Who ever heard of common people being magicians? I can see the truth whether you speak it or not. Your uncle is a great king, and the great enchanter of your world. And by his art he has seen the shadow of my face in some magic mirror or some enchanted pool, and for the love of my beauty he has made a potent spell which shook your world to its foundations and sent you across the vast gulf between world and world to ask my favor and bring me to him. Answer me, is that not what he is, or how he is? Well, not exactly, said Diggory. Not exactly, shouted Polly. Why, it's absolutely bosh, from the beginning to the end. Minions, cried the queen, turning to rage upon Polly, and seizing her hair at the very top of her head, where it hurts most. But in doing so, she let go of both of the children's hands. Now, shouted Diggory. And quick, shouted Polly. They pulled their left hands into their pockets. They did not even need to put the rings on. The moment they touched them, the whole of that dreary world vanished from their eyes. They were rushing upward, and a warm green light was growing near overhead. The beginning of Uncle Andrew's Trouble can be held next time.